Hello there and welcome back to another episode of the Thought That Counts podcast. Today we're going to take a deep dive into the topic of homelessness. What has been causing it? What approaches have been failing from our government? And what approaches show the most promise in how to address this issue? But first, let me tell you a story. It was springtime of 2021, just under a year ago. Sometime in early May, I was leaving work. It was a beautiful sunny day, only a handful of clouds in the sky. It was a temperate 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 27.9% humidity. It was a dream of a day. It was beautiful. The windows were down, my hair was flowing in the wind, smile on my face, sunglasses on my eyes. I was feeling great. I pulled up to an intersection at a red light, and I noticed a homeless man. He was walking past some of the cars, and he was approaching mine. I looked at him, and I said, "Hello there, sir. How you doing today?" And he said, "Can't complain." I noticed that the sign he was holding said that he was a U.S. veteran. I said, "Sir, what branch of the military did you serve in?" He said, "I was a Marine. Still am." And I said, "God bless you." Amen to that. My grandfather's a Marine as well. I asked him what unit he served in. He said, 137th. I said, "That's wonderful. That's wonderful. When did you serve, and where were you stationed, sir?" He said, "From 88 to 90, I was in France. From 90 to 94, I was in Austria. In 95 through the summer of 96, they put me over in Turkey before bringing me home." I said, "My God, you were in Austria in 93? He said, "Yes. Yes, I was, son." I said, My uncle's a missionary, sir, with the First Baptist Church, and he went on a mission trip in 1993 to Austria. He said he met some Marines there. Sir, did you ever meet some missionaries while you were serving in Austria in 1993? He said, "I did, son. I did. I met some men. They showed me the way. They showed me the right path, and I've never forgotten those men." I said, "Sir, what were the names of the missionaries you met?" He said, "I met one man. He was named Frank Wilbers. There was a woman there named Alice Coltrell. And there was another man, a man by the name of Alex Baumstein." I said, "My God, my uncle is named Alex Baumstein, sir." And the man said, "That's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. How's he doing?" I said, "He's working as a CPA now up in Maryland. He fell out of the church. He got into some weird stuff and they kicked him out for good." And he said, "Oh, well, that's too bad. But I'm glad to hear he's alive and doing well." And I said, "Yes, sir. Amen." The light turned green. I looked at the man. I said, "I don't have any cash, but I hope you have a good day, sir." And he said, "God bless you, son." And I said, "God bless you too, and God bless America." And I drove off. Now, I don't actually have an uncle named Alex Baumstein, but sometimes it's not really about the facts. Sometimes it's really about the people you meet and the connections that you make. This is probably one of the most important lessons I've ever learned in my life. You see, a lot of homeless people that we meet are just as happy having a conversation as they are accepting a $5 or a $10 bill. Connection is extremely important for every person on earth. And some of the studies and articles that I've read, written by people who have been studying the homeless issue and interviewing with homeless people, they've found that mental health is an extremely important thing to take into consideration when we are trying to fight this homeless issue. Now you might say, fight homeless? Fight the homeless issue? Well, wouldn't the best way to fight the homeless be to just go out and fight a homeless person? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we should combat the problem. I'm saying we should address it on a systematic level. That's what I'm really talking about. I'm not talking about violence against homeless people. So, what are some of the biggest contributors to the homelessness problem? Well, researchers who have been invested in this issue for decades now say that affordable housing has been dwindling away. One of the biggest problems we have right now is that there's not enough affordable housing for the people in the lowest income bracket in our country. And when you run into problems and you can't afford housing, what do you think happens? You lose your housing. So that's one big issue here. Another big issue is gentrification. And that kind of goes along hand in hand with the affordable housing problem, because when certain areas become gentrified and Black families get pushed out of their homes because the building was bought out by a different leasing company and they're upping the rent prices and they're renovating everything and trying to make it all shiny and looking like new, even though it's probably still just garbage infrastructure, and they're literally just trying to scam people into paying higher rent by painting the walls and such. But then the rent goes up and they can't afford it anymore, so they get pushed out onto the street, and these families have to either move out of the city or they're just done. They don't have any other options. And if they find themselves in that situation, then they're very likely to end up homeless. A lot of people who are interviewed by these researchers and these people writing these articles, like Business Insider, Time Magazine, places like this, are writing these articles about the fact that the lack of affordable housing is one of the biggest contributors to the homeless problem. Another big problem going on here is the fact that it's been addressed the wrong way over the past few decades. So you might ask, how has it been addressed so far? Well, there's something called the Housing First approach. The Housing First approach basically says that the way that you should address the homelessness issue is to create housing for them to house themselves. And then they have a place to stay, and they can, sleep indoors at night, and they can shower, and it's probably a lot easier to get a job and get propped up back on your feet again. Well, that sounds good, right? But apparently it doesn't really work, because the problem that homeless people are facing isn't just the fact that they don't have a roof over their heads. Now, it helps. I'm sure it helps. I'm sure there's not a homeless person in America that would turn down the opportunity to gain housing. But the big issue here is that there's a variety of pressures being put on homeless people. It's not just the fact that they don't have a roof over their heads and walls around them. It's a variety of issues. So let's dive into this. We've got some interviews here. We've got some articles. One that I'm looking at right now by Business Insider says it's not just a problem with inadequate low-income and supportive housing. It is also the sense of belonging, the sense of community, the community supports in terms of health and social services that are needed for people to be safe and healthy and happy in low-income and long-term permanent housing. And this reminds me of a lot of other things that I've read in my adult life, not just with regards to homelessness, but also with regards to things like depression and other types of mental issues that people face. One of the biggest problems contributing to mental health issues is a lack of connection. When you don't feel connected, psychiatrists say this, you become depressed. You lose a sense of belonging. You lose a sense of, you don't really have a center when you don't feel connected to things. You come home every day and you just sort of sit there staring at a screen of your phone or your TV, and you don't have any hobbies, you don't have friends, you don't engage with people, you don't really interact with your family on a regular basis. When you don't have very many connections in your life and you don't have many different activities stimulating your neural pathways, it is very easy to develop other mental health issues. So, what's a better way to approach this? The housing first isn't working, clearly, evidenced by the fact that Los Angeles and New York City are regularly breaking their records for how much money they spend on providing housing for homeless people. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars a year they're spending. And it's not just housing. It's also shelters. It's all kinds of organizations that are designed to provide help and resources. It's a variety of things, but it's not really working. I mean, the homeless issue it's become a full-on crisis. So how do we deal with it? How do we deal with the problem here? Experts say that a combination of affordable housing, not just free housing, but affordable housing, better wages, and more accessible healthcare and more accessible mental health care. It's not just about like going to the hospital and not having to pay a huge medical bill. It's also about having psychiatry, having therapy available to you, accessible to you, and pushing these initiatives so that people will actually use them more often. All of these things combined will be able to help the homelessness problem. And kind of on a note that I was saying earlier, on the sense of belonging, that's huge. I know a homeless man who lives near my building, and I see him walking around. I see him sleeping, and I see him all the time. Every day I see him multiple times a day. One day I went to Wendy's with my fiance, and we came back and we parked the car in the parking lot, and we were walking inside. We were walking across the parking lot, and I saw this homeless man walking towards us. He was just walking across the parking lot with a couple of items. He was holding a chair and it looked like a backpack. I said, "Hey, how's it going?" As I kept walking. And he started talking to us. And he said, "It's going all right. I've got this lawn chair here, and the screws are coming loose. And do you have a drill that I could use?" And, well, I said, "Well, I've got a screwdriver, and I think we've got a couple extra screws. Do we have a couple extra screws, honey?" She said, yeah, we got some extra screws. I said, "Yeah, we've got some extra screws. We got a screwdriver. I can go get it and bring it out to you if you'd like. Or I've got some duct tape that you can use. That might help too." He said, "Well, I don't know about the duct tape, but yeah, I mean, these screws have been coming out, and it's, I like to bring the chair around with me so I can have a good place to sit sometimes when I'm moving around during the day." And I was talking to my friend the other day, and he said that he got some food from Walmart, and he said it tasted like chemicals, and that kind of reminds me of that. I was talking to a guy, who also said that, this food from Walmart, it tastes like chemicals. And I'm saying, why are they putting chemicals in the food? Why are they putting chemicals in the fruits and vegetables, man? I mean, they're really trying to kill us all. And I think this conspiracy is going all the way to the top. It's just like the other month, a month or two ago, I came across this preacher. He's got this big house in the mountains, and yet he tries to claim all these tax deductions. And I'm saying, well, there was a big scam at the church, and there's a bunch of money that just went missing. And I'm saying, well, how'd the priest get all this money, man? I mean, how did he get all this money from the church? I think there's something underhanded going on there, man. And I mean, this guy just kept going on, and I was thinking, my God, he doesn't even want money. He just wants to talk. He just wants to talk to somebody. I mean, this guy's got so much to get off of his chest. A sense of having somebody that you can talk to. I mean, that's a big deal. So getting back to the idea of combating this issue, we know it doesn't work. We know just trying to build as much free housing as possible doesn't really help. We need bigger changes on a legislative level. We need better wages. And I'm not just talking about $15 an hour. Okay, where I live, $15 an hour won't buy you diddly squat. $15 an hour is not even enough to survive unless you're splitting the rent with multiple people. Trust me, I would know. We need more accessible health care. We need more accessible mental health care. And we need better communities. I've mentioned this in another platform recently. We don't really have a strong community anymore. The community here in America is dying out. And we have to make sure we take care of each other. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, baby. And you gotta make sure you're taken care of. And furthermore, we have to stop throwing money at the wrong things. Like I said, cities are spending billions of dollars. The federal government's spending lots of money on this too. Municipalities are spending gobs of money, but they're using the wrong approach, which is why it's not helping, which is why our society just keeps going in the wrong direction, but we're spending money trying to fix it on the wrong things. If we refocus these finances on the correct avenues, it will be a lot more productive. So write to your local senators, write to your mayor, write to your congressman, and let's make some change happen. Because I hate seeing these people all out on the streets. It's horrible. It's terrible. There's a huge stigma against homeless people. And the local governments don't really help. I mean, have you noticed? I mean, they put like spikes over heat vents so that they can't, stay there and be warm in the winter. They put bars across benches so that homeless people can't sleep there at night. I mean, we are just pushing these people out. No wonder they don't feel connected to anything. They're being actively pushed out all the time. It's a huge issue. We need to take better care of each other. We need to care about one another. And one way that's not helping people care about one another is that there's so many assumptions and discriminations about homeless people. I mean, so many people just assume that it's an individual failing. You lost your job and you're too lazy to get another job, or you're too lazy to apply to a job right now, or whatever the reasons might be. There's a lot of negative things being said about homeless people constantly. Oh, well, he's just a drug addict, don't give him money because if you give him, $20, he's just going to go buy some drugs or some alcohol or some cigarettes. Like, that's not the right way to think about this, because the fact that they're homeless isn't because they're lazy or they're a drug addict. What happens is not just a case of laziness. What happens is really a combination of factors, a combination of economic pressures and a set of circumstances that put someone in a position where they can't do what they need to do, despite their active efforts to stay afloat. It's impossible for them to stay afloat. And a lot of people don't realize that it's not as simple as being a drunk or whatever you want to call it. I mean, there's all kinds of slanderous terms we could throw at people who are struggling, but it's really more about having empathy for one another, because you don't understand what they've gone through and you don't understand what they're going through. So just assuming that they're lazy and, walking past them without making eye contact, it doesn't help the situation and it doesn't help us all address this issue. So have a little bit of compassion, have a little bit of empathy, write to your congressman, and let's solve this problem together. So God bless you. God bless everyone you love. God bless your friends and family. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode just as much as I've enjoyed providing it to you. Please, if you haven't heard my other episodes, please go check them out. Please check out my YouTube channel, The Thought That Counts. I enjoy providing content for your consumption, and I hope that you find it entertaining. So please come back and listen to me again soon. I hope it's been informative and interesting. Please give me a review, give me a rating, let me know what you think. I thrive on your feedback. So please go ahead and leave a comment or a review and let me know what you think of this whole project here. So that's all I really have to say today. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon. Cheers.